Hello, everyone. Welcome to this August the 30th edition of Carry Your Cross. Can you believe that we are 1 week away from Labor Day? September is almost here, but I am so thankful that you've chosen to be with me again today. I pray that the Word of God will encourage you right where you are. And I just want to begin by asking a question today. Have you ever been betrayed? You know, the old adage is the hardest part about betrayal is that it never comes from one of your enemies. You see, many times we expect our enemies to betray us, but that is why betrayal is so incredibly brutal, because when it comes from those that we know, it exacts, a lot of emotion on our part, whether it comes from a spouse or a child or a loved one or maybe some other family member, maybe a friend, maybe a coworker. Betrayal is something that every single one of us don't really want to talk about. We don't really want to embrace, but we need to be ready for it when those things happen. I don't say if they happen, I say when it happens, because it most certainly will. And while we're dealing with betrayal, it causes a lot of raw emotion, does it not? It causes disbelief, it causes discouragement, it causes grief, it might even cause a great deal of anger, a great deal of rage, because that raw emotion comes boiling up many times, and we think to ourselves, how could he? Or how could she? I did this for him, or I did this for her, and I've always been there for him or her, and all of a sudden, then there's betrayal that is, right in front of our eyes, and it affects our hearts, it affects our being, it affects every single thing about us. And I was reminded of a story today that we find within Psalm chapter 55, because David had been betrayed. And isn't it interesting that what we go through here in the midst of our lives, there are Old Testament and New Testament characters that we can compare and contrast our lives and our emotions to. Because right here within Psalm 55, David writes, right here within verses 12 and 13, he says, "For it is not an enemy who reproaches me, then I could bear it. Nor is it one who hates me, who has exalted himself against me. Then I could hide myself from him. But it is you, O man, my equal, my companion, and my familiar friend." Now, David doesn't really reveal who this equal is, this companion, this familiar friend, but we understand that it was someone that he was close to, someone who possibly could have been a family member, or most assuredly a friend, a confidant, someone that he rubbed shoulders with, if not on a daily basis, someone that he was close to, and it hurt him. Because as we kind of go back towards the beginning of verse 55, and we pick up the story again in verse 4, he says, "My heart is in anguish within me, and the terrors of death have fallen upon me." This caused David a great deal of disbelief, a great deal of grief, a great deal of discouragement, to the point where he's writing, "My heart hurts. My heart is in anguish." Well, move forward in verse 5. "Fear and trembling come upon me, and horror has overwhelmed me." I mean, all of these emotions come bubbling out. Fear and, tremors and horror. Inner horror has just overtaken him, overwhelmed him. This has caused him many sleepless nights, many days. He was thinking about this, where his mind and his will and emotions are just overrun. But we continue to move forward. Verse 6, "I said, oh, that I had wings like a dove. I would fly away and be at rest. Verse 7, behold, I would wander far away. I would lodge in the wilderness. You know, have you ever wanted to run away from your life and just go somewhere where no one knew you? Have you ever just wanted to up and leave all the responsibilities, all the pain, all the discouragement, all the betrayal behind? David is writing right here. He had the same sentiment. I want to go away. I want to run away from this. I don't want to confront it. It hurts me to the point where I just want to forget about and just go away from all of these things. And I share all of this heartfelt anguish here, kind of as a contrast to where David eventually ends up. He's hurting, he's broken, he's discouraged, he's been betrayed by someone that he cares for, and he thought this individual who was a confidant, a companion, cared for him. But there was something that fell through. But David ultimately knew that God would never betray him, that God was always going to be for him, that God was going to soothe him and encourage him and be there for him in the darkest of times. And as you progress forward within this psalm, you eventually come to verse 22. And this is David kind of shifting gears here. He says, cast your burden upon the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will never allow the righteous to be shaken. In other words, we can always find our refuge in God. No matter who betrays us, no matter what emotion we have at that particular moment caused by that betrayal, God is our refuge. He is our strength. And the word cast is a very interesting word here in the first part of verse 22. Cast your burden upon the Lord, because in the Hebrew, the word for cast literally means to throw or to hurl something. So David advises us not to hold on to the pain of betrayal, but to throw it or hurl it at God. Why? Because God is big enough to understand. God is big enough to embrace our hurt. God understands when we're betrayed because he was betrayed as well. And the thing about God always being there is that, yes, he will always be there. And we can continue to throw our anxieties, our frustrations, our discouragements, our betrayals at him, and he will continue to be there for us. And David also understands that, because if you go back to verses 17 and 18 of this particular verse, this is what David writes. Evening and morning and at noon, he will hear my voice. So no matter who you are today, no matter what you're going through, no matter what circumstances surround you, no matter who has betrayed you, we can call out to God right here, evening, morning, noon, all day long, and he will hear your voice. Until next time, this is Pastor Lane Collins right here at Mount Calvary Baptist Church. I so look forward to meeting you and your family one of these days, if I have not had that honor already. And for those of you who do have a relationship with Christ, I pray that you will continue to move forward. You will continue to carry your cross into a lost and dying world. Why? Because we are surrounded with people who have needs. They're discouraged, they're broken. Many of them have felt betrayal in their lives as well. So if you can bring encouragement, if you can bring hope, if you can speak a kind word or place someone's prayers in the midst of your heart and give them to God, intercede on someone's behalf, then you continue to do that. Again, evening, morning, and at noon, God will hear your voice. Until next time, this is Lane Collins. God bless you.